Let me preface this, English is not my first language, but I did study it in school, so please excuse my errors. I think it's been long enough since it happened that I can safely talk about this. This takes place in 1994 Poland. Myself and several friends were poking around in one of the areas that, because of the Soviet occupation, no one had been in for a couple of decades. Because of this, it was all overgrown and wild, so we were armed with a mix of rifles, pistols and knives. I personally had brought along my uncle's carabiner S. We hiked into the forest from the edge of an old fence line, a couple kilometers, and we found an old asphalt road. It was cracked and weathered with trees starting to grow up through the roadbed, but we decided to follow it in. It ended about 7 kilometers later at a large grassy clearing. We chose to camp here for the night. In the morning we noticed that something had paced around the perimeter of our camp. The grass was bent down and flattened from where it had walked. We didn't think much of it though. Thought it was deer. We packed up and continued on into the forest. We decided to hill up the side of a mountain we could see from the clearing, get above the trees and see what we could see. As we walked, I felt like we were being watched. We reached a good spot to look around from, and not far from where we had camped we could see another clearing with some kind of concrete structure there, so we hiked back and made our way over that direction. At the edge of the camp clearing we found another old road that led in that direction. At the other clearing, the road we were following dipped down into a cut and led to a concrete bunker. After a brief discussion we decided it was too small to be what we saw from the mountain, and so continued further into the clearing. Continued in next post. The picture is similar to the bunker the second road ended at, only the ramp down to it was wider and more gently sloped. Back to the story. We didn't walk long before we were on top of the large concrete pad. There was a massive 4-way door atop it that was partially open. Maybe a foot or so. If it were fully open, I think you could easily drive a oversized hauler through it with room to spare. We looked down in it, but it was really too dark to see anything except a couple flickering lights down at the bottom, and the reflection of water way down at the bottom, machinery and a missile cradled by a bunch of machinery. It was too dark to tell how intact everything was. We threw a couple rocks in, and they bounced off some stuff as they fell before splashing into the water at the bottom. We made our way to the edge of the pad to discuss things again. We decided since there was power, but it was obviously abandoned, we might as well explore. So we went back to the bunker door Webb found. I and of my friends worked at the door while the others got the flashlights ready, since we weren't sure what to expect regarding lighting. Because we didn't have any tools it was harder to get open, but we managed with a couple sticks and a pipe we found lying around. The door opened with a hissing whoosh as the air pressure was different inside than out. At first we thought it was a snake or something and had jumped back. After letting the air inside and out mix, and let the feeling of being idiots go away, we pulled the door fully open and looked inside. There was a layer of dust inside, and more lights were on here than in the silo. Walls painted flat gray, Cyrillic writing on the walls just inside. None of us really were any good with Russian, and our bad translation was something like West Missile Station Anti-Capitalist or A. I got pushed into going in first because I was the only one with a semi-automatic weapon. More in the next post. The complex itself wasn't really big. Maybe a little larger than a 2-bedroom apartment. There was a room with 2 sets of bunk bed cots, no mattresses, but there were steel footlockers with nothing in them bolted to the floor. The room across from this was a kitchen and dining area. Heavy iron table, electric stove and folding chairs, then a hallway to a command room with an armored window into the silo itself. The hum of electricity was strongest in the command room. An entire wall was dedicated to a large control panel and old analog computer. Like the one from Team Fortress 2 that informs the soldier about the blue spy in the base. Its monitor was like that. Some of the bulbs were broken, so I don't know what they would have indicated. They were all in block Cyrillic letters and easier to translate, but the one that were dimly lit up were silo doors, stopped, obstruction, in, on tracks. I don't remember what the others said. Under the window, into the silo, there was a flip clock that was paused at 2 minutes and 34 seconds with a red light next to it, and there was no actual launch button that we could find. There was another door that we couldn't get open and look around deeper into the silo, so after poking around a bit more and double-checking for anything interesting, we made our way out and back towards where we camped the night before. All the while I couldn't shake the feeling we were being watched. We set up camp and went to sleep. To this day I don't know if it was a dream or actually happened, but something was laying atop me, and just watching me. No one else in the camp, just me. It was heavy and I couldn't move anyway, but the eyes. They looked smart. I don't know what. Another post, and I think I will have it all posted. When we woke up the camp was torn apart. Our food was missing, and the cooking supplies we had were scattered all over, and something had walked through the camp, its paws digging into the earth beneath. 2 of our weapons were missing as well. A revolver and a hunting rifle. We were all freaked out. Between the food being gone and a storm looking like it was coming in, we decided to hike out that day. About 2 kilometers of hiking the storm hit and began raining, as though the sky itself was angry at our trespassing. We had not packed for rain, so we were soon wet and hungry and tired. I still felt like I was being watched. Our hike was slow and tiring. We reached about where we thought we'd found the road and began hiking out. Everything looked different, but there were some of the knife marks we'd made in the trees mark our passage. A couple kilometers from where we expected the edge of the forest to be, we tripped over our food. Well, the containers and some of the vegetables. All neatly stacked and out in the open, like it had been left for us to find. After we got over trying to wrap our minds around it, we began walking with our weapons ready. Not long after we found our food, we saw something. It looked like a dog. Or a fox, but it was far too large, like a small car. Too long, and the fur was a fake-looking silver like a cheap wig. When it opened its mouth there were far too many teeth. It smiled at us, I think it was smiling, and just wandered off into the woods. After a mild panic attack we started walking again, hiking a bit faster than we should have. It didn't take long for us to be running in a panic. I don't know how long it took us to get out of the forest, but we did. A couple of my friends went to the authorities and told them about the wolf in the woods. I think they told the whole story though. One more small post. A couple days later they were just gone. Their parents were shaken and knew something but wouldn't say or even acknowledge they had even had a child. They were just gone. Even now I think it was remnants of the KGB keeping secrets. I only went into those woods once more after that. My curiosity got the better of me a couple years later. I never found the road, or whatever the fox was, and I returned home. I've held this story close since then, but I think it's safe to tell now. But I don't know, I might get woken up by a bag of the head. I don't know.